Hi guys, what's going on, and welcome back to another episode of Conqueror's Blade. So, we're going to have a bit of a short video today, mostly because I'm coming down with a cold, and I can't be asked to do a long video. So, we're going to take a bit of a look at the, I'm going to go for the Selemchid Cavalry. These guys, one of the Season 2 reward tech trees. Should probably actually have a look at that, actually, in the tech tree. These guys here, these middle ones. I've already taken a look at the Namkhan Archers. And I was kind of testing these guys out at the same time. I wasn't a huge fan of them, so that's why it's taking a bit longer to get a video out of them, because I've not been playing them that much. But I've been playing them a bit, and I've started to get the hang of them a little bit. And they're kind of interesting. They are quite a nice cavalry in some sense. They play a little bit like the Iron Cap Scout Cavalry. They have really a nice slashing and aggression damage, and actually a really quite a nice charge. They do a really decent amount of charge damage, as we will see in a minute, but they're really lacking one thing, and that is a decent formation. And that is pretty much the single biggest problem with them. They have this sort of really loose dispersed formation, and I don't know why they called it this serpent formation. It's basically just a very long little narrow thin line, which makes it really hard to align them up in anywhere in a siege map. With sort of the, the way these obstacles and things like that. I mean, if they had a wedge formation, then I think these would be a really great 3-star cavalry. But they don't, and that's kind of the problem they have. When they actually do get the charge, they do quite a bit of decent charge damage, because they have quite a few charge upgrades along the line. They get a 14% there, and they get another 14% there, so they get plus 28% charge. And I think this is only going to get better, because we get damage to infantry plus 25% as well. So I think they're going to actually end up as a really decent little unit, and the cooldown of the charge is really quite low, particularly once you get this extra 3 seconds here. You're going to be down to sort of 12 seconds or something cooldown, so they're going to be charging really regularly. If only they had sort of a wedge formation or a more usable formation, I think these would rapidly become one of my favourite cavalry units. But without that, I think that's really what is lacking on them. Unit kit cost wise, I don't know, let's have a look. 1600, so really actually not too bad for a 3-star for a silver unit. That's pretty reasonable. Running out of horses. I'm running them with a couple of doctrines. I just threw a few cheap things on there, just a few slashing damage. Obviously, all their damage points are focused around slashing because they are a sword unit. So they get pretty decent actual slashing damage when you actually just leave them in a unit in melee. If you leave them in a unit of serfs or something, they cut them down really quite effectively, because they actually do that decent amount of damage and that really high slashing AP damage as well. So yeah, actually a nice unit, but missing the key formation to make them a great unit. So they just sort of feel relatively average because they're hard to use well without that decent formation. Anyway, I've only got a few little bits of footage, as I say, because I'm not a long video, but let's just hop into a few bits of footage and take a look at these guys as they sort of get into some charging action. So we are on to our first of 2 clips. Not got too much to show you today, it's quite a short video, but I just kind of wanted to highlight some of the formational problems. You can see, obviously, it would be so much nicer if we just had like a wedge strike here. I kind of get away with it because I'm able to get them to form up sideways in this narrow little line and get them to charge in a line, but it just kind of delays the time it takes to get set up. I miss the bulk of the charge, although we do actually end up managing to get 3 hero kills. Sort of got away with it a little bit, but not a super effective formation. And that for me is just by far the biggest limitation of this unit, because their melee ability when you leave them just in combat is really quite nice. I like the fact that you can charge in and then actually, particularly if it's a suicide charge, you can then just leave them and they actually get quite a bit of damage just swinging around with their swords. So I find that pretty decent as well. So after this, I just swapped out from my Pike Militia in a siege. They just kind of started to push in. They captured the B point. Again, I'm a little bit late getting set up, but you see the sort of damage we do when I managed to clip that dual blades with 1 charging unit, but pretty much took off most of that hero's health. They do charge hard. They do actually hit really quite hard. But as I say, that lack of formation really limits their ability to sort of narrow down and focus their energy through a unit. And that's the limitation for them for me. They are nice if you catch like sort of units, just a few little straggles and things like that. They cut them down really without issue. But then most cavalry do, so it's not really necessarily a massive plus. You see their charge cooldown is really nice. Our charge is obviously back up again already, and I've still got another 3-second cooldown to come off that once they get further upgraded. So the fact that they can charge really regularly is nice. For example, if you take something like Monastic Knights, which has like almost like a minute cooldown on its charge, which is a really big charge cooldown, they do have a very regular charge. So if you're in sort of more open battle, then you can sort of charge backwards and forwards quite regularly because of that cooldown. So I was just having a bit of a look around me. I decided in the end I might as well go and see what I could do against this supply point. I thought the enemy are likely to be spawning in units in here. You never know, I thought someone might be spawning in archers or something like that. Again, I have to work with this narrow little formation, trying to get them to sort of form up. They sort of go, they get into a bit of a mass, and we do win the charge against the other cavalry, and we actually end up doing pretty well, and leave them to sort of throw themselves around a bit. And you see they even get some kills after the charge, just sort of laying about them with their sword. They are a really nice unit for the charge, but the formation stops them from being a great unit, and for me, it kind of ruins them, unfortunately. You'll see in a minute I go and throw my life away against a dual blade. We all have moments of stupidity. So anyway, that's all I've got for you today. I just wanted this to be a really short video. Hopefully it was enjoyable. If it was, let me know what you think in the comments down below. And of course, subscribe to the channel for a load more Conqueror's Blade content.